All right, excellent. Thanks everybody for being here. If you're here, you probably already know you can send questions to Slido. We'll get to them towards the end of the session. In the meantime, we're here to talk about AI and wealth management. And I think when a lot of people think about AI and wealth management, they think about robo-advisors. But that's not what either of you do. So Sindhu, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about how your firm uses AI and how you help financial advisors in the wealth management industry.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So if you think about buying from Amazon or calling an Uber, we all do it in a without even thinking twice about it. How about changing beneficiary or withdrawing from your 401k? If you want to do that for your clients or as an investor you want to do that, you can't, you have to find the right form, you have to fill it up, make sure there are no NIGOs and so on and so forth. So what our firm is focused on is making sure the experience the customer has, and especially as the largest transfer of wealth is happening to millennials, the experience that we are encountering with, for example, Amazon or Uber or even Tesla, that's the same experience that we can get with wealth in creating efficiencies at scale for advisors so that you can focus on giving advice and engagement rather than focusing on the repetitive administrative operative stuff. So we really take away our AI-powered assistants, really take away all of those and handle all of those routine tasks, like, for example, handling meetings, taking notes and driving follow-up actions from there, all of those, and let you handle the important stuff.
Okay, Andrew?
Yeah, hi, Andrew Altfest. I'm founder of FP Alpha. I'm also a practicing advisor, manage a larger RIA firm in Midtown Manhattan. So at FP Alpha, what we do is we help advisors scale advanced planning. And so that grew out of a pain point that I had as an advisor, that there are good tools now when it comes to traditional retirement planning, but as soon as you go beyond and you go into this world of estate planning, and tax and insurance, you really left reading documents, and what I found was I was building checklists and working with attorneys and accountants, and there's no way to scale it. So you can offer it to your wealthiest, but you can't offer it to everyone else, and it will be a very manual process to do it without technology. So what we do at FP Alpha is we use AI to allow advisors to upload their clients' financial documents to FP Alpha. FP Alpha reads those, summarizes those documents, finds gaps and opportunities in 16 areas of planning, and gives those back to advisors, all while being complementary to traditional retirement planning software out there. We just launched our estate planning snapshot, which creates an automated distribution plan simply by uploading a will and a trust. So we help advisors scale advanced planning so they can do more for clients than they currently can in an efficient manner.
Cool. So one of the things that I found really interesting when I was introduced to both of your firms was you're coming at this problem from very different places. So you have very much sort of a tech machine learning background. Andrew, as you talked about, you're actually coming from the feeling the pain innately yourself. So I guess I'm kind of curious. Andrew, what made you think that AI was the solution, and how did you go about sort of building this yourself as opposed to finding whatever else might be out on the market?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly came out of a pain point that I had, but I think it's about combining the vision as a advisor and leader of a firm that is looking not just 1 year into the future, but looking multiple years into the future, and then saying, what kind of service do I want to be offering clients that will give me an advantage, that will allow me to be indispensable to clients, not today, just today, but years and years into the future. And if you just look at any surveys out there, you can survey your clients like we do at the RIA firm. You take a look at the industry writers, opinion makers, take a look at Julie Littlechild and her absolute engagement studies of clients, of advisors. Clients are asking for more help in the areas of estate planning and in tax. and insurance, but very few of them are getting that help. And it's not because all of us advisors are bad people. It's just that there's no time. I mean, how much time do we all have in the day? I mean, the days are full. So, and you can't be an expert on everything either. So there's no technology that allows us to scale this offering. So I tried to do this internally at our firm. And I was having our team read documents, and look, I knew I wasn't going to be successful at doing it. So the question is, how can you get this done? And I'm reading about, like all of us, driverless cars, but so the technology exists, and exists in other industries, but for some reason it hasn't come to our industry in a meaningful way. And so I wanted to see if we could use technology to combine this vision, this demand that clients have, with a service that would be enabled and allow us not to spend a lot of time, but be able to be more of the general physician of finance to help our clients. And it all kind of intersected and came together, and in terms of the offering.
Okay. And Sindhu, how did you, maybe you could tell the audience a little bit about your background, and what got you interested in this, and how you got into sort of dealing with advisors and creating software that helps serve them.
Yeah, definitely. So my background is, could not be far away from any of the, financial advising world. I come from purely a tech background. I have a PhD in artificial intelligence and probably around a couple of decades of experience in building AI solutions. I also have 6 patents in machine learning and natural language processing. So from my standpoint, when people think about AI, they think about this fancy, robot advising, autonomous cars, and whatnot. But when I think about AI, what I feel is the most impact, especially in wealth management and financial services, is how we can create scalable efficiencies to augment human capacity, and that scale is very important. So that is where I thought there is a huge use of AI, and I just didn't stumble upon wealth as a category itself. One of the reasons was pretty funny in the sense, my background, I have an advanced degree in one field, but when it comes to wealth, I talked about withdrawing from 401k and things like that, I don't even know who my insurance provider is. I have no idea. If somebody asks me, how do you manage your wealth? Zero understanding. So if some of you advisors come to me, that's great. But so I realized, when I think about wealth, managing wealth, there is a huge block in my own head. And if that is my situation, I'm looking at everybody else that are not financial advisors who's trying to manage their wealth. So there is a little bit of this democratization of wealth and wealth management that I believe needs to be there. And a critical ingredient for that is creating a seamless experience that can scale. And that was my motivation to kind of drive to this. And also, so that is personal motivation. But when we were looking at industries, it is nice to see autonomous cars and other applications, but in terms of AI adoption, industries are really, really slowly taking an approach and probably failing in multiple fronts. So when we looked at financial services and wealth as a whole, we realized that there is all the right ingredients at place. One of my favorite phrases, banking is necessary, but banks are not. And that is typically true. You have Amazon, Apple, everybody creating banking services, as well as, small mom and pop shops as well. So, so it is not just the, holding on with, firms like Merrill Lynch or UBS and things like that. So if they want to stay in power and be relevant, they need to innovate and disrupt. And that is a right ingredient for technology adoption. And that's one of the reasons we thought, this would be a great place. And the third reason is one of the, when you look at AI in a general sense, wealth is a little bit complex in terms of understanding the domain, in terms of the policies, regulated processes, and so on. So the general AI often fails to work, especially the machine learning based model, which is based on driving patterns and understanding, extracting, gathering relevant knowledge from those patterns. It doesn't work because you need a lot of relevant knowledge as theories beforehand. So we crafted a specific model for that, in very, very domain specific, and that I think is one of the fundamental reasons we focused on this.
I want to go a little bit deeper on that,
Yeah.
because both of you have mentioned driverless cars, which are not quite there yet, and other practical applications of AI. But I guess I'm wondering, like, when you talk about AI or machine learning, just how smart are we talking? Are these machines? What are they able to do? What are their limits? What applications are they really good at, and which do they kind of need help with?
Maybe I can.
Either one of you can hop in.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about my experience with AI and what I found it to be helpful with. I mean, so we primarily use natural language processing, and we do use some machine learning, but we're using it to understand how to read and understand what documents are expressing. And it's if you want to think about how AI, natural language processing, is being used by all of us, or if you can just look at Alexa and Siri, they're using natural language processing to understand what is being said. Now, on the document side, you can have a trust that you can written in 10 different ways by 10 different attorneys. The AI has, for us, we need the AI to understand what is being expressed in that particular trust, even though it could be written in different ways. And so you have to throw a lot of data at the AI. You have to train it over time, and then it will pick up and understand something not just from like a keyword search, but contextually what is being expressed, so that you can come to the right conclusion. Let's say if a particular trust is being sprung in the document, or whatever the planning situation is. So we're not using AI for the sake of using AI. I think that's probably been one of the problems with AI in the industry. You mentioned the problems with adoption. I think that people are not signing up for AI, and AI is not a product. It's a way of getting from point A to point B in an efficient manner, to automate some of the work that hasn't been automated before, which is more of the intelligence, more of the judgment intelligence work that has been left to the advisor, because we've done a great job automating what's in the back office. But the next challenge and the next huge opportunity, which is really exciting, is using AI to automate and allow advisors to take on more important work and do more for clients. And that's by helping them with the day-to-day of what they're spending their time on.
Yeah. And Sidhu?
Yeah, so I think Andrew was kind of pointing at many of the challenges in AI. So there are two schools of AI, which is like the machine learning, which is learning from patterns and learning from data, and the other the kind of the right opposite approach is top-down reasoning, which is what humans do all the time. Like if you ask a child whether Andrew can fly, then the child will say no, because Andrew is a human and humans don't fly. So it's kind of a deductive reasoning, which can scale quite easily without a lot of data. So these are the two fundamental schools of thinking about AI. And most of the time, especially in most of the industrial applications, we look at one aspect of AI, which is machine learning. So I don't know if you remember one of the bots that was created by Microsoft called Thai, which was kind of learning from the Twitter chatter that was going around. And within 24 hours, they had to take it down because it was using all the abusive language and things like that. So that is what happens when you let the machine run, let the patterns being picked up from whatever garbage in, garbage out kind of a scenario. So there are applications like, for example, image processing and so on. There are a lot of applications where that works really well. And even in very specific applications of, let's say, robo-advising, if you are looking at which tech stock that I need to buy, which is going at particular growth rate and things like that. So those kinds of things you can look at patterns and then maybe predict. But if you ask the robo-advisor a question of like, what should I invest in, or what should be my next, how should I plan my wealth around my, how should I plan financially? That is not a question that robo-advisor can answer, like based on your circumstances, based on your family profile, household, and your retirement goals, your different other goals. So all of this together, maybe there is too much of a decision making that needs to go into the AI system, or too much of a domain knowledge that needs to go into the system. So there are certain situations where AI doesn't, in the form of just the machine learning approach, it doesn't really work well. Another example that I want to give is Erica, which is the chatbot from Bank of America. So it is a very controlled experience. Like you can really interact with it and do all the routine functions. But behind the scenes, there are around 100 data scientists who are sitting and controlling this experience, basically coding in the experience. That is also not what AI is meant to do in the pure form. So these are things like, if you ask for counter examples, those are the things that I would give. But as a, if you build the AI correctly, I think it could be used as a supporting tool as creating efficiencies in multiple levels.
Got it. I guess we've established that both of you see this as you're going to need a hybrid approach, really, that sort of tech-enabled services for the financial industry. And I'm kind of wondering, if in this hybrid model, where do you believe it makes sense for the AI to control things, and for the financial advisor to step in? Like, what are the things that the AI does well, and what are the things that the advisor should take care of?
Happy to share my thoughts. So I think we as humans, we're not going anywhere, and we're just going to become much more valuable to our clients. And I think that's because what we're really good at, we're good at using our judgment, we're good at creativity, and we're good at the personal side of things. And I don't see machines replacing any of those things anytime soon. But it's not to say that there isn't very much a symbiotic relationship that's needed between human and technology. So, we have so many different clients who are demanding different services at different ends of the spectrum. And so I might work with a client who is, and I do work with a client who is recently turned 63, and unfortunately he got early Alzheimer's. And as a result of the early Alzheimer's, he's having to rethink his whole financial plan. He has to figure out who's going to pay the bills, who's going to handle the medical care, what's my estate plan need to look like, how am I going to pay for long-term care expenses, what are the tax reduction opportunities that I just retired. And then on the other side, you have the young professional who, let's say, is just getting started with a portfolio, wants sustainable investments, wants to find tax reduction opportunities, wants to manage the risks in their lives, maybe an initial estate plan. So how do you serve all of those people's needs at once? And the human can't do that. We can't do that on our own without technology. So if we're going to we have the data, right? That's the great thing about our industry. We've done a good job at digitizing information in our different platforms. And then now it's the role of AI and technology to turn that into action. And for us as advisors to exercise judgment over it, figure out how to apply it, figure out where there are limitations to the recommendations, and use our creativity to do better, spend time with clients. That's the role that advisors are going to play with clients and going forward in partnership with technology.
Yeah, I just want to add to that, my viewpoint is AI is going to be the new UI in terms of creating an experience that is, we call it the ease of conversation meeting the power of automation. So that is what AI can do, because everyone wants to have, unless you create that seamless experience, you can have the most highest form of technology, but nobody is going to feel the effect of that. So AI could, replace any user interface that is currently we have available, and that conversational interface that we, very natural to us human beings, and that could be our interface to everything that is behind the scenes. And from a technology point of view, the holy grail of AI, I would say, is the minute you can understand a human intent in all its contextual kind of sense, that's when AI has achieved something. So if you understand the intent, you can have multiple levels of automation built into it to create scale and efficiency, but the understanding the intent part is the most difficult, and that is where AI should play the most important role.
Got it. We have a couple of questions already, and we're going to get to them in a few minutes. But once again, I invite you all to send them through Slido, and we'll start opening it up in a little bit. So one topic that always seems to come up when we talk about machine learning is this idea of ethical AI. And Sindhu, again, you're probably the expert on this, but can you share some examples of, you mentioned Thai, but as it relates to the financial world, some examples of how people that are building or applying these models should be thinking about it in a way that we would think of as ethical.
So wealth and health are two fundamental aspects of our existence, and I think when we are building tools like AI has this very interesting but very dangerous connotations that is associated with it, which is we all have societal bias built into us. Whether we accept it or not, it is there within all of us. AI has the power to amplify it and make it permanent. So that is where we need to kind of be careful about it. So if you are able to kind of the wealth, especially when we look at the wealth technologies, we are building technologies that is managing everybody's wealth, and there are high net worth individuals, which is a small portion of our world, and there are marginalized society. So I think again, I'm going back to this machine learning paradigm. When you are learning based on the past data, there are certain behaviors. One simple example is the fraud detection. So if you have certain historical examples where certain communities, certain sections of people have those bias against them, that will get amplified using these algorithms. That's why we need to have AI that is explainable, that you can, using these reasoning, deductive reasoning, you can explain your decision making and make it transparent. So that is very important especially in wealth technologies. And I think regulators should kind of ensure that whatever AI you put in your own institutions, this kind of measures are in place to be able to make sure these biases are not built for scale.
Okay. I guess I will start with a few questions. And so top one, Andrew, have you found that FP Alpha has enhanced your relationship with estate planning attorneys, or are they threatened by it?
No, it's been a complete game changer for relationships with estate planning attorneys. And if you think about what estate planning attorneys want, right, how they get compensated based on their time. So if you're going to be the type of advisor who reviews your client's estate documents, then and you detect that something is wrong, or something, you show the client their distribution plan, and they say, no, this is not how I want my assets to transfer, or I have a son-in-law and I think he's the worst person in the world. And I just want to make sure that he never gets his hands on my child's assets. So you bring up that issue, and then the client takes it back to the attorney. The attorney is going to get paid for that work, right? And attorneys know the limitations. They don't have ongoing relationships for the most part with clients. That's us. We are the ones who meet with clients regularly. We sit down and we can review their finances and detect issues. And so you're referring business back to the attorney. It's clear that they're the ones who are making the final decisions, and they get more business. And so we've seen it enhance relationships. Just on the personal side, I had a client who he has 3 young children, and he had documents done early when these children were very little, and these children got older, and he said, Andrew, I want you to take a look at my estate plan. So we uploaded it to FP Alpha, and we found that there were 3 problems that needed to be solved. They had trust, but the trusts weren't the beneficiaries of the IRA, and there were a couple of other issues that needed to be handled. And it sent it to him, and he sent it on to his attorney, and his attorney took me out to lunch at a university club in New York. And if you go to a university club in New York, it means you're paying. So usually it's us advisors, right, who are chasing the attorneys. So while there's always one person who might be not confident, and threatened, that's not, the most people embrace it from our experience.
Okay. We have a few more questions coming up. Could you define AI more specifically? A lot of firms are confounding simple machine learning models and with DL.
I cannot see.
Okay.
DL, no. Yeah, deep learning.
Okay, deep learning, which is like lumping a Model T in with a Tesla. So that would be a question for you.
So I was like, as I was saying, there are 2 broad categories of AI technologies. AI is anything that you can make an autonomous decision, create a learning system that is, in the broadest sense, that is artificial intelligence. And 2 parts of it is if you learn from base data, or you learn from fundamental theories. Those are the 2 aspects of it. And generally, when you talk about AI, you are only talking about the machine learning sense, which is learning from huge amount of raw data. And making sense of it. Deep learning is a kind of machine learning that goes a little complex in learning the nuances of the model itself. Like, for example, in a sentence, you are trying to learn the structure of the sentence to understand the semantic meaning of that sentence. So, or like, if you are taking a picture, then different pixels form a context, and different contexts form a bigger meaning of a picture of, let's say, a man walking a dog in a park. So those kinds of things is what is a deep learning. I don't want to go and bore people into a lot of AI talk, but that is fundamentally the 2 divisions that we see.
So one of the questions I have, and we kind of talked around it a little bit, but given the amount of data that we have, what is it about this particular market or industry or the demand from clients where you wouldn't be able to apply machine learning models to the actual planning itself, as opposed to just using it to make financial advisors more efficient?
But can you just explain that a little further?
Yeah, I mean, like, why not a robo-advisor for high net worth individuals? Is it the complexity of the assets in play? Is it the planning itself?
I think it's quite simple. It's much more simple than that. I think the people who make the robos are paid based on the sale of the product. So if you're getting paid to put money into a mutual fund or have bank deposits, then that's what you're going to offer, right? I don't think it's any secret out there that's what clients want. We all know what clients want. Advisors know what clients want. We speak to them, they tell us what their challenges are, they tell us what their goals are, and we meet their goals. Robos don't do that because robos want to offer something on their own terms, which is a rebalanced automated index portfolio or some equivalent of that, because that's how they get paid. So why spend your time meeting clients' deeper issues? The technology is out there to do more, but robos are in it for the reasons that they're in it, because they're economically driven. And so I think that's been the major shortcoming of robos, and why advisors have well surpassed robos in what they offer.
Got it. Do you have any opinions on robos?
I think completely agree with what Andrew said. The other thing is again, if you have been buying Apple stock, and it's been going up, robos would continue to recommend Apple stock irrespective of if you want to invest in tech, or that is the right approach to do. So that's kind of a little bit learning from data paradigm. So if you kind of express certain preference based on that, it would continue to take you down that path. So for simple, introductory investing, that is that I think is good. But as Andrew was saying, if you could build a technology that is much more sophisticated and support advisors. For example, portfolio recommendation is something that you could really do with AI, and surface the right portfolios based on the context of the clients for advisors. Because most of the time, what I hear from advisors as part of Cognicore is that they recommend things that are on top of their mind. That might be 2 or 3 portfolio types. Whereas you have a multitude of products out there, to surface the right one in front of the advisor so that they can recommend it to clients is one way that AI can actually show its power. At the same time, not really advising, it's surfacing it in front of the advisors.
Okay. We do have time for a few more questions. There's one more up here right now. We've seen AI get introduced into investments, robos, and now financial planning processes like FP Alpha. Where's the next big demand in the space?
I would continue to kind of look at the efficiency, not because it is more fancy, or that's where everybody is going. But if you just look at the financial advisor's time spent, around 30% of the time is spent on financial advisors, their teams, CSRs, and things like that. 30% is spent on forms. Every week, if you are spending 8 hours meeting clients, around 11 hours are spent in pre and post meeting processes. So there is a huge time being invested in these things. So that's where I think AI should step in, as well as creating that experience so that it becomes mainstream.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that, and I think that the technology is going to be doing more of the work for us. So how much time of ours is spent doing things that is best handled by technology, and the more of these problems are going to be solved by the platforms themselves, making suggestions to advisors. Right now, so all of the tools we use, they require us to enter information, to model, to run different analyses that take time. A lot of that stuff can be done and given to us as suggestions, and we're seeing more and more of that in our industry. But there's no reason why a lot of the time that's spent on this analytical work, why it cannot already be done by the technology we use. And so that's going to enable us to advise more broadly to the clients that we work with. And so I think we're going to see more of that from the different platforms that we use. Are going to take more of a recommendations type approach using AI.
I also want to add one more thing, which is proactiveness, creating proactiveness, for example, around the life events of clients. So advisors often, especially if you are not high net worth, my advisor don't reach out to me every once in a week. If they reach out once in a quarter, that's great. So I wish, when life events keep happening, there is an advisor that is telling me proactively, these are things that you need to do, or these are things you need to be careful about. So one of the things that AI can really model is different life events, like you getting married, you have a child, divorce maybe sometime, and death of a family member. These are things that are scenarios that could be understood by an AI system very well, and then proactively planned around that. So those things, I think AI can really help.
Okay. One more question. Are there areas of financial advice that you would want AI to help out with?
I mean, so we're focused on 16 areas of planning. So it's tax, estate, all areas of personal insurance. We wanted to build technology where there wasn't technology, and so that's where our focus is in terms of finding suggestions and where we feel like you're in the Wild West, because planning, everyone has been focused on our industry on investments. Now it's planning. We have the panel just now of people who are really focused on planning. And so more of our industry is recognizing that planning is the more of the main ingredient than a loss leader to build relationships with clients. So that's what I'm most excited about. I do think there are plenty of opportunities for AI to play a bigger role, and even just on the consumer side, what is consumer facing that will enable advisors or enable consumers to have more of an advisor feeling experience, not just on the robo side. We just talked about the deficiencies of the robo, but on an experience that shows what does advising look like, in which that's meeting more of your goals, asking more questions, and then moving that relationship to an advisor. So we actually at FP Alpha we built what is called the Prospect Accelerator, that based on limited information, advice opportunities are given to the prospect, and then they're prompted to take a meeting with the advisor to go and learn more about those opportunities. And it has a Netflix-like approach. So in how we use AI, it learns from prospects like you found these recommendations to be helpful. And so it serves up predictive suggestions. So we're working on doing more of that, so that more of the experience, because it's a game changer. Your scope of work is, if you can get to the future faster than competitors, and your scope of work increases, then you're adding more alpha, your business is going to grow more. You're going to be more relevant to more prospects and sign up more prospects and charge more for your services, etc. So I'm very excited about the prospect side of things as well.
Anything else?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. One is on the onboarding process of the you talked about tax and all of those. I think those are very it's very I think you can do that. But one thing on the onboarding that I think Cognicore is doing is how do you model a risk profile of a person? Because today you ask, are you high risk, moderate, or whatever? And people intuitively know that they are high risk or moderate, but they have no clue whether, what that means. So we look at something that is more tangible, showing maybe a fictitious person invested so and so in certain situations that is very similar profile as yours and took these decisions. Would you take similar decisions? And likewise, kind of looking at risk, understanding the risk profile of that person. So that's just one example. But in a broader scale, what I would think AI should play a role is bringing not just the wealth part of the advice into the forefront, but in the previous talk, someone mentioned, going to Starbucks affects, have some kind of an influence or an impact into your future life. So bringing all of those together, whether you are exercising, whether you are managing your health, all of those information, making it available to either advisors or, AI advising. I think that holistic part of your life data is and decision, recommendations of, you might be in you might be better off doing this kind of things. So those kinds of proactive suggestions and recommendations on the holistic part of it, I think that would go a long way in terms of financial advice.
Okay. Excellent. Well, we're out of questions. We're out of time. So thanks for joining us. And Sadhu and Andrew, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.